Good evening, everybody. Hope you're all doing fantastically well. It's Connor here. We're back with another One Leeds video. Before we start the video, make sure you're slapping a like on the video, hitting the subscribe button. There's 36% of you who aren't subscribed. Make sure you do that because in the coming months, we're going to be doing giveaways. The Fantasy League that we've got going on, link in the description below. You cannot win the Fantasy League prize at the end of the season if you're not subscribed to the channel. As well, make sure you're sharing to all your friends and all that good stuff, everybody. Listen, you can head on over as well to the Patreon account right now. We have another podcast episode dropping at 6 p.m. It's well worth it. Really good episode this week, and we'll be dropping another one. We're going to add something a little bit different as well, I believe, this season when it comes to scheduling on the Patreon. So it's another bonus podcast on there as well, everybody. It's audio only as well. You guys enjoy that sort of thing. So make sure you head on over there if you fancy that good stuff. What do I want to be talking about today? Well, I think it's really essential right now to be talking about Summerville. I think it's really essential now to be bon voyage in Summerville. Goodbye, thank you for your service. But now we need to talk about the things that matter at this club, and it's all about replacements. What's going on? How do we replace? Who do we go for? And is it realistic? There's a lot of factors there that we need to take into consideration. We need to understand. We need to compartmentalize to then make a further decision. Now, the first conversation right now is, will the 49ers replace? I think in the offensive area, they will do one and maybe even a second in there as well. Why is the question when we've got Nonto, we've got Aronson, we've got James, we've got Peru, we've got Rutter. You know, we've got a lot of bodies in there because you need match winners. And I think if they don't do business in that area, I think it's going to harm Leeds in a detrimental way. And let me break that down specifically for you. When it comes to XG and goals, the top three players that we're going to speak about in this video in the division were top of that metric. And these are going to be the players that we're going to be speaking about in this video as well. And you need finishers. You need proper finishers, match winners, to get you out of certain situations, maybe where you're not playing well, or even when you are playing well, to make the most of chances. And I feel with Leeds United, when it's come to XG over year upon year upon year upon year, for instance, the last season as well, we should have scored more goals last season than what we did. We should have put teams away more than what we did last season. It was an Achilles heel in some games. And when you're looking at your Sheffield Wednesdays, your Rotherhams, etc., games on that level, Leeds really should have done the business. And, you know, I think an argument there is Matteo Joseph actually been fielded. But, you know, when it comes to it, you do need to add killers in that front line. And I think if Leeds are to add some of these characters, then 100% we'll be able to do that. And we'll be able to do that to an even greater level than what we did last season. So let's start off with the first name that I wanted to mention. And do I think the 49ers will make these changes? I think they've got to do. And I think the team right now, I don't want to be contradictory, I think the team right now is good enough, but all it takes is a transfer. Yeah. And we all know that this can happen. We all know that if a team came in for Willian to put a big bid in, we're in trouble there if we are to sell on again, especially with the Rutter as well. If a team comes in like Brighton did earlier on in the window with an excess bid of 30 million quid, if Rutter's then to go, we're looking at a completely different scenario in terms of even promotion. I think and obviously it would depend on incomings, but I think Leeds, if they were to lose Nonto and Rutter, or even one and you know, one of either, I think we're in a little bit of trouble this season, because I think both of them would really perform to a really good level. And when I say we're in trouble, I mean, you know, top two, you know, six, the top six would still be pushed on, but I think it'd be much more difficult than we all expect. So let's get into the names anyway. So first name that I want to throw out there really is Raksaki. Now, obviously, he plays at Crystal Palace at this moment in time. His loan spell was at Charlton in League One, where he was unbelievable. Now, the beauty about Raksaki is balance on the ball. He can go left or right. He's only 21 years of age, and he is a serious talent, a serious talent. Palace won't let him go to a Premier League club. They won't sanction that transfer. They want to loan him out to a Championship club. Now, the things are that we were discussing last season, when you look at someone like Fabio Carvalho, why couldn't we get Fabio Carvalho? Well, because Hull were guaranteeing him minutes. Okay. So that could be a bit of a problem here, because if Raksaki is to come in, needs to battle it out with Willian, or maybe Willian goes back to his right position on that right-hand side, and Dan James is almost a supplementary to Willian, then we've got a little bit of a balance there, of course. But I really like what I've seen with Willian in pre-season on that left-hand side. So I'd like him to go out there, to be quite honest with you. But Raksaki as almost, could he go on the right? Could he, be inverted a little bit? Could he even go on the left? And as I've just mentioned previously, Nonso go on the other side or even central at points. That would be a really, really good addition. And the interesting thing is we wouldn't be able to get him on a permanent. That's not going to happen. But a loan signing, I don't think that will be that bad. The big issue that we have nowadays is that if you bring a permanent signing in, they're obviously going to be wanting to guaranteed minutes as Rothwell and, Ampadu back in the day when he was, struggling with Chelsea and wanted to get minutes, came to Leeds United because he had that promise. With a permanent transfer, you're going to have to sell that. But also, even with a loan signing now, if Rak-Sakyi is to develop in his career, he needs to come to Leeds United and play football. The great thing is, it's still a step up for Rak-Sakyi. He was at Charlton. Last year, obviously struggled for minutes, but this season, Crystal Palace want him to take that step up, which is the championship. So this is a really, really realistic signing for me. So yeah, keep an eye on that one. The next one is obviously Johnny Rowe. Now, we've spoken about this multiple times before. With Rowe, he can play anywhere along the front four. He's even played up front before. He is a top player, especially cutting in off that left. He's a frightening talent. And when we're speaking about XG and goals, previously, Johnny Rowe XG and goals is of the top three. When he's had this XG built up to a certain level, he's matched it with the amount of goals he's got, which essentially means when you boil it down that he's a fantastic finisher. So only young, 21 years of age, 1 year left on his deal. You can't imagine he's going to be worth more than 13, 14, 15 million quid. That one for me is a really realistic one for Leeds United. How does Daniel Farke then balance that front four? Is a definite question to be having, after that. How's he going to balance it? Would he put Rowe on the left? Would he put Rowe on the right? Would he switch him and Nonto? I think that'd be quite nice. You don't see enough of that nowadays with wingers switching positions in game. I'd like to see that, a bit of pragmatism there and a little bit of self-onus as well on the players doing that mid-match when maybe it's not working. But I think Johnny Rowe is absolutely perfect. Fantastic balance, fantastic potential ceiling, and that one could be done for a really good fee. So those first two, 100% you'd feel could be done pretty quickly for Leeds United if they wanted to do that. Another name I want to throw in the hat is Fabio Carvalho. Now, the problem with Leeds and Carvalho last season was the fact that Leeds couldn't get him in because Hull were guaranteeing him minutes. Now, if you are to put Nonto on that right-hand side, or, you could put Carvalho on that left-hand side, of course. We've been speaking about a 3-4-3 as well, with maybe narrow number 10s. Carvalho will be perfect in that role. But is he too almost similar to what we have right now? We've spoken about him inverting a little bit, coming off that left, but he could also make up that number 10 position if that's where Leeds wanted to play him. And he could essentially be that lock picker. Obviously, we know once again, the beauty about all these names is they're so versatile. Carvalho, a little bit of a different player to the previous two. The previous two are a lot about agility, speed, balance when they're running at speed as well. Carvalho is a little bit more of a lock picker, a little bit more guile, creativity, innovation, but I think that would fit right now into the Leeds United system. So he's another player that I wanted to speak about. Another name that I'm going to throw in, and staggeringly, everybody, I keep talking about this XG, I keep talking about this goal thing, and the reason I'm mentioning that is because, look, everybody, with the amount of chances that we have, we need to put a lot of these chances away, don't we? And that's the aim of the game. It's football, isn't it? It's Gabi Sara. Gabi Sara was second on this list in terms of the amount of XG he had, the quality of his chances. He was able to score, and output, outdo his XG. He scored against us as well, didn't he? A wonderful player. I believe that Gabi Sara will probably go to the Premier League. I'd be really surprised if he was to come to a Leeds United. I think that you're probably looking at 20 million plus from as well, which I can't really see the current regime spending on a player. I think the current regime are maybe a little bit more about spreading that cost out. And I think that's a smart way of doing it, but I can't really see them going out and spending a mass amount of money on one player. He's good when it comes to contractual terms right now with Norwich, which gives them a little bit more ability to say, well, look, we want this amount. Johnny Rowe is a very different conversation when it comes to it. But then it comes down to the premise of, can you put Carvalho in the number 10? Gabi Sara is a very different number 8/10 really, and is a lock picker and will contribute to goals, but is also a little bit of an old school box-to-box midfielder. He can play defensive midfield, but he can also go forward. He's a fantastic pickup for Norwich. And the reason I'm mentioning Carvalho there is because these are more central players, who you could categorize as an 8 or a 10. Your Rak-Sakyis, your Jonathan Rose, your Morgan Whitakers are very much out wide style players. And the final name that I want to throw into the hat is Jack Clarke. Jack Clark is a fantastic player, an excellent player at running with the ball, which is exactly what Summerville is. I feel like he maybe mirrors Summerville's gliding movement more than most. Him and Jonathan Rowe, but Jack Clark is so good at 1v1 battles. We know what he was like at Leeds United in that first season under Marcelo Bielsa, where he was pretty much unplayable. And he's got back to that form right now. You do feel that Sunderland are going to ask a premium amount for him. Will Leeds do that? I mean, that's the big question right now. How much would Leeds spend on a potential replacement? But I think when I'm looking at it right now, these would be dreamy. But I think Leeds have maybe got to do a loan player. I think if we maybe do a loan player and bring someone else in like that and a number 10, I think like 8/10. So you've kind of got your Summerville replacement on the left, maybe someone who can play on the left and right, but a number 10 as well. Move Rutter out there. I think you're looking at a very, very decent Leeds United squad. And with Summerville moving on, replacing with 2 in terms of investing in that 10 position, 8-10 position, and then maybe a loan signing, I think that I would be really, really happy with that. But there is a month left, everybody. Please let me know what you think in the comment section below. Who would you go for? Who would be your Summerville replacement? Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I would genuinely recommend heading over to the Patreon as well. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'll see you in a bit.